What's up, Taiwan? I'm Liao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. An aging society and a dangerously low birth rate. Taiwan's facing a double burden when it comes to its population. Private universities are especially hard hit, shutting down whole programs because there just aren't enough students to fill them. Joyce Zeng has more.
了解男女的特质差异是你要谈恋爱的基本知识。
Fighting to pass down her knowledge of literature before her program gets cut. Dai Hua-Xun is a professor at a private university with Taiwan's very first Taiwanese literature department. After 26 years, the program is struggling to stay open.
我们却没有办法好好把我们的专业发挥在或者说培育下一代，因为少子化，我必须被迫选择离开我自己很爱的这个职业。
Taiwan has one of the lowest birth rates in the world, thinning out the country's talent pool. That's been particularly hard for private universities, which traditionally outnumber public ones in Taiwan. More of them have had to stop teaching certain courses to focus on degrees with better job prospects. Several institutions have had to shut down completely, failing to enroll enough students. This year, a record 4 private schools are set to suspend all classes.
这是我们私人兴学的过程中，因为政府没有承担责任，然后叫私人自己兴学，透过学费办学的一个社会结果啦。
Adjusting tuition fees hasn't been enough to survive such dire student numbers. Since 2019, the number of college freshmen in Taiwan shrank from over 230,000 to barely 190,000, and officials expect this to drop even more. The first courses to be slashed have been disciplines like literature, making some of its few students left even more motivated to protect it.
因为我会写东西，我可能就是会写东西，写文章，帮这个系留个记录。毕竟我对它其实是有一定程度的感情。
If Taiwan can't boost its birth rates, private universities will have to push more technical classes that meet market demand to stay afloat. And so cultural courses like Dai's will keep struggling to survive, a blow to Taiwan's cultural heritage and the people who've dedicated their lives to keeping it alive. Scott Huang and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Last summer, a squad of young Taiwanese footballers got to play in a youth tournament in Spain. While Taiwan hasn't embraced the game as much as some other Asian nations, the experience showed the country still has some promising talent. Jaime Okan has this story.
These young footballers are the first to represent Taiwan at an international youth tournament in Spain in September last year. The Arnedo Cup is held every year in La Rioja, and youth teams from elite European clubs have taken part in the past. So it was quite a coup for these kids from Kaohsiung to be here, especially because they weren't supposed to be. The invitation came through Yuan Yin-Ceng, one of the few Taiwanese football players to play professionally overseas. He spent 2 years on the books at the local pro club Racing Rioja, and he was the one who saw the opportunity for Taiwan to make an unlikely late entry into the tournament.
那个时候 Arnedo Cup 他们是名额是满的，对，但是呢，刚好有一组的球队他们临时就是没有办法来参加。我的经纪人跟我讲说，就是要不要去争取看看？就是台湾的小孩有很多缺乏一个让世界看到的机会，所以呢，透过经纪人，然后呢，就是我也跟台湾这边做接洽。
Soccer is not as popular in Taiwan compared to other sports like baseball, basketball, and badminton. Some have even called the country a football desert for its lack of development, talent, and facilities to properly support a professional league. But Taiwan has been trying to build more fields and make the sport more attractive. Given the chance to play with some of Europe's youngest talent, coaches here in Taiwan weren't going to pass it up.
这个比赛它是在西班牙他们足球赛季开始前一个很重要的比赛，所以其实各大俱乐部、西甲、西乙的俱乐部 都会派他们青训队去参加这个比赛。我一看我就说，这肯定要去的，如果有机会。
From a pool of 70 young players, 18 were selected as the squad for the Tourney, a team they called Taiwan Dream. But while the players were concerned about their competition, the coaches first had to worry about how to get there. As they were joining at the last minute, organizers were scrambling to find transportation.
分了3批人飞到曼谷，第一批人是飞到曼谷那一天当天直接转机飞马德里。 第2批人跟第3批人是出境曼谷，住在机场旁边的一个饭店。 然后第二批人是第二天早上11点的飞机飞马德里，第三批人是第三天早上11点的飞机飞马德里。
With the squad finally assembled in Spain, it was time to face off against the other teams in their group. The highlight of their tournament was beating a team from the U.S., coming from behind for a 2-1 win.
我们原本1球落后，追平之后1比1，然后最后要结束的时候，我们右中场原本要被教练换下去，教练就叫他下，然后他没有下，然后他最后自己带球，然后射进1颗。
Taiwan Dream failed to advance from their group and placed 13th out of the 16 teams in the tournament. A modest result, but a great learning experience for a team that could barely have imagined performing on such a stage just a few short weeks earlier.
我们没有最后1名，我们本来以为我们会最后1名。结果我们还赢了一队西班牙的球队，跟唯一一队从美国来的球队，叫做德州太阳能。所以这整个过程，其实我可以感受到孩子们前所未有的快乐。
The players and coaches say the trip was a huge success in showing that Taiwan is not a football desert. And the hope here is that Taiwan can continue to kick on and show the world it can compete. Ryan Wu and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
Horsemen in Central Asia are charging into the fray to scrum for a carcass. Bryn Thomas takes a look at Afghanistan's national sport.
Buzkashi means goat pulling in Persian, but headless calf carcasses are often preferred because they're less likely to break apart. Sometimes, as is the case at this match outside of Afghanistan's capital of Kabul, they use a mock-up made from leather. It's a modern adaptation in a very old sport.
صدها سال میشه که بزکشی در افغانستان تاریخچه داره و بسیار بیننده داره در سمت شمال خصوصا تا هنوز در جنوب نبود در سمت شمال زیادتر بزکشی ها میشده.
The game began in Central Asian nomadic groups, and variants of Buzkashi are still played across the region today. In this version, played in Kabul, 2 teams of 10 riders compete to carry a carcass around the flag and then throw it into a scoring circle. Matches typically start on a Friday and can last several days. Riders, called chapandas, wear long boots with notches that let them lean off their saddles to grab the carcass. They carry whips to fend off other riders and horses.
بزکشی یک ورزش ثقیل است. خب ایره رشد کنن، ایره تقویت کنن. این یک فرهنگ مردم ما است. این دست نره، این تقویت شود، دیگه هم رشد کنه. این جهانی شود، مثل که کرکت شده، مثل که فوتبال یک بازی جهانی است.
Afghan Buzkashi teams can often be identified by their use of helmets left over from the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in the 1980s. Their addition is fitting for a sport meant to imitate mounted combat. The Taliban banned Buzkashi when they first ruled Afghanistan, starting in the mid-1990s. The game returned in the early 2000s, and Buzkashi is still allowed under the Taliban's current rule. Although there isn't a woman in sight, the sport is a rare indulgence under a regime whose vice and virtue ministry has banned video games, alcohol, and music.
مازدارم پارسال تولم اکسپر ما اونجا هم گرفته بودیم کپ قهرمان را بهترین بازیکن خودمون شده بودیم مشکل الحمدلله این سال هم شدیم.
With another match in the bag, many here are happy to see Afghanistan's national sport in full stride. Ethan Pan and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Before we go, get your heart pumping with these shots of surfers tackling the world's biggest wave spot in Portugal's Today. I'm Liao. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
For more news from Taiwan and around the world, go to TaiwanPlus.com and download the TaiwanPlus app.